Imagine walking into a bank on a cold Tuesday morning. Your shoes so worn the soles flap with every step, the leather cracked and stained from months of hard use. The security guard gives you a long look. The tellers glance your way and quickly look down. Then the manager steps out from his glass office, takes one look at you, and laughs. A short, sharp laugh that echoes across the polished floor. He thinks he already knows your story, until he sees the number on the screen. Hey friends, if stories like this touch your heart the way they touch mine, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. This is Whispers of Heart 0.2, and I'm so glad you're here. I still remember the sound of those shoes. It was early spring in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio. The kind of place where people still wave at each other from their porches, and the diner knows your coffee order before you sit down. My name is Daniel, and at that point in my life, I looked like a man who had lost everything. My jacket was threadbare. My jeans had holes at the knees. And those shoes, Lord, those shoes, had walked me through 2 winters and 1 long stretch of nights sleeping in my truck. I wasn't always that way. Years earlier, I had built a small construction company from nothing. Good years followed. I bought a house, a decent truck, put a little money aside. Then the economy shifted, a big contract fell through, and medical bills for my wife's treatment ate what was left. We sold the house. We sold almost everything. She recovered, thank God. But by then we were living in a rented room above a hardware store, and I was taking any day labor job I could find. That morning I needed to check the last of our savings. I had heard a rumor that the bank might be willing to work with people who were behind. I walked in with my head down, trying not to notice the way people looked at me. The manager, a tall man named Mr. Harlan with a perfect suit and a perfect smile for the right kind of customer, came over when he saw me waiting. He didn't offer a handshake. He just looked at my shoes and chuckled. "You sure you're in the right place?" he asked, loud enough for half the lobby to hear. A couple of tellers smiled behind their hands. I felt the heat rise in my face, but I stayed quiet. I slid my ID and the account number across the counter. He typed it in, still half laughing, still certain he was dealing with another hard luck case who would walk out empty-handed. Then the screen lit up. The laughter stopped cold. There on the monitor was a balance that didn't match the man standing in front of him. Not millions, but enough. Enough that it made Mr. Harlan's face change color. Years earlier, when things were still good, I had opened a separate savings account and set up automatic transfers I later forgot about. Life got loud and painful, and that quiet little account just kept growing while I was out swinging a hammer and sleeping in the truck. I had come in expecting almost nothing. What I found was the last piece of the old life I thought was gone forever. Mr. Harlan cleared his throat. The smirk was gone. He suddenly remembered how to be polite. He offered me a private office, a cup of coffee, even a seat that didn't face the rest of the lobby. I sat there looking at the number, feeling something shift inside my chest. Not pride, not revenge, just a deep, quiet gratitude mixed with something else I couldn't name yet. I could have walked out right then. I could have enjoyed the look on his face and never come back. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the memory of the nights my wife and I had prayed over empty pockets. Maybe it was the way the young teller at the far window had smiled at me earlier when no one else would. Or maybe it was simply that I remembered what it felt like to be treated as less than human because of the way I looked. So I stayed. I asked Mr. Harlan about the possibility of a small personal loan, not for myself, but for a friend of mine who was trying to keep his roofing business alive after an injury. I told him the truth about my own situation, the medical bills, the truck, the rented room. I didn't gloat. I didn't lecture. I just talked to him the way one tired man talks to another. Something unexpected happened. Mr. Harlan listened. Really listened. Later that week he called me. He had spoken to the loan officer and found a way to help my friend with better terms than either of us expected. Then he did something I still think about. He asked if I would be willing to come back and speak to the staff about customer service. Not as a customer who had money, but as a man who had been judged by his shoes. I almost said no. Pride is a stubborn thing. But I went. I stood in that same lobby, still wearing the same worn-out shoes because I hadn't bought new ones yet, and I told them what it feels like when people decide your worth before they know your name. I told them about the nights in the truck and the mornings when a single kind word from a stranger felt like sunlight. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The room was quiet in a different way this time. After that day, small things began to change at the bank. The security guard started greeting people by name. The tellers made eye contact a little longer. Mr. Harlan himself began spending more time on the floor instead of behind glass. One afternoon I saw him help an elderly woman fill out a form without once checking his watch. Another time I watched him quietly cover a small overdraft fee for a single mother who was already in tears. He never mentioned our conversation, but I knew. My own life slowly turned around. The forgotten savings gave us breathing room. I found steady work again. We moved into a small house with a porch where the morning light comes in soft and gold. I finally bought new shoes. Nothing fancy, just solid and clean. The first time I walked into that bank wearing them, Mr. Harlan met my eyes and smiled the way one friend smiles at another. No laughter, just respect. But the real change wasn't in the shoes or the balance or even the better treatment. It was in the quiet understanding that kindness is a decision we make long before we know what someone has in their account. It is the choice to look past the cracked leather and the tired eyes and see the person still standing there. It is the courage to stay soft in a world that keeps trying to harden us. I think about that morning often. The sound of those old shoes on the marble floor. The sting of that first laugh. The sudden silence when the number appeared. And then the slow, steady work of choosing something better than bitterness. Kindness didn't erase the hard years. It didn't pay the medical bills or fill the empty nights. What it did was keep a small light burning when everything else felt dark. And once that light was shared, once it passed from me to Mr. Harlan and from him to the people who walked through those doors, it kept traveling. So if you ever find yourself on either side of that counter, whether you're the one being judged or the one tempted to judge, remember the shoes. Remember the laugh that stopped. Remember that every person you meet is carrying a story you cannot see from the outside. Choose the softer word. Choose the longer look. Choose the small act that costs you almost nothing and might mean everything to someone else. Because in the end, the balance that matters most is not the one on the screen. It is the one we keep in our hearts. The quiet account of every moment we decided to be kind when it would have been easier not to. And that account, my friends, never stops growing.